Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Matt Witten, TV writer, novelist, playwright, screenwriter, written for Law and Order, House, Pretty Liar, Little Liars, and many other shows. So learn from him what motivated him to write his first speculative thriller, 51%, that's coming out. We'll talk about the difference between writing for TV and novels and what he's learned about craft after 40 years. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Thank you, AJ. It's good to be here.
You're welcome. Welcome to the show, Matt. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people, a lot of writers, a lot of people who write for different mediums, they will learn a lot from you about all this. And I'm sure they'll learn about writing, they'll learn about creativity, and they'll also learn about connection, and much more. But before that, let's learn a bit about your journey, your background, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Sure. Well, I started out as a playwright when I was about 20 and wrote plays for about, 15 years. And then I decided to switch to novel writing because I realized that I was enjoying reading novels more than I was liking going to plays. And that was my favorite form of entertainment, was to read murder mysteries. So I decided, I'm going to try writing a murder mystery. So I wrote one and it sold, and I wrote 4 of them. And then out of nowhere, I got a call from an agent in Hollywood, and then out of nowhere, I got a job working on Law and Order. So I started working on Law and Order, moved from a small town in upstate New York to Los Angeles, wrote for TV for 20 years, and then the novel writing bug got me again. So I've started writing novels again, and this novel that's coming out in April, 51%, is my third thriller that I've written since I got back into the novel writing game. So that's my story in a nutshell. I should say I started out as a poet when I was 6. I wrote poems for a while, so that was also part of the journey.
Wonderful, wonderful, Matt. So, what is it that you want to share with the world with what you are doing? Is it you are more concerned about, about the future of our humanity? You talk about 51% dystopian era, that too not too far away, 20 years from now. I want to understand I thought, writing things earlier on, they would have helped you understand about the world differently. That was a different world. Now you are looking at a future world, which is a very, very different world, difficult world, and where, you can almost see the science, some science trial, even in today's time. Help us understand from all these different wisdom, reality, fiction, speculative fiction that we talk about. Tell us a bit about all this.
Sure. So I'll describe the world that I've created in 51%. This is the novel, by the way. This is the advanced reading copy. So you can see it has a little thing across. But other than that, this is the novel 51% that comes out next month. And it's about a world where the big 6 corporate syndicates own just about everything. They own schools, they own roads, they own parks, they own police departments, and they even own people. A lot of people are 51% owned. And when they get to be 51% owned, they're like indentured servants. And the corporations can control what they do. And this idea comes about because I've watched in the last 40 years, for a while, liberals and Democrats were doing pretty well in the United States in the 60s. But then ever since about 68, when Nixon came in, the government has gotten less and less interested in helping working people. It's gotten more and more interested in helping big corporations and rich people. And the power of the corporations has gotten so much bigger. Economic inequality has gotten so much worse. And I just see it happening. So in this world that I've created, the government is really even more gridlocked than it is right now, even more ineffective than it is right now. And people are at the mercy of corporations. But one thing I also see in the world is people fighting back. There's an expression that in every generation there's a new Hitler. In every generation, maybe Hitler is the wrong word, but in every generation, the forces that tear us apart and are not healthy for the human race, you know, come on strong, and then people of goodwill uh, have to fight to overcome it. In every generation, we have to fight the battles over and over, and that's just the way of humanity. And in a way, it's a positive thing because we overcome, and humanity achieved has gotten happier and happier, I believe, and achieved more and more in the last few thousand years. People live a lot longer than we used to. A lot fewer babies, God forbid, are dying at a young age. Uh, uh, Fewer people are hungry. I know there's way too much hunger in the world, um, but there are fewer people hungry than there were 60 years ago. So there are a lot of good things happening. There's a lot of possibilities for the future of humanity, and we just, in every generation, we have to fight our fight. And so my book is about 20 years from now, when the corporations have got even more power, but the people are going to fight back.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when you bring in, I'm a bit fascinated with this whole story, the way this story comes about, with the way you have integrated AI, Red Queen. It looks like, the AI uh, corporations, you can say, some of these might be, might sound like, or may sound like to many, the way, the future six corporations that will own a lot of things in the US. Why only six corporations only in the US? Does your imagination say, or speculative fiction say, that only the US will be in control of these people, of its people, and everywhere else it will be much more free and freedom everywhere?
We'll see what happens in the world. I mean, right now, I think a lot of countries are really going the way of helping the rich and hurting the middle class and poor, and giving more power to the corporations. But there are some countries that are going, a different way. And I think that'll be true 20 years from now, and it's true now. So, Canada, for instance, is going a different way. They have health insurance. I mean, I'm not sure the situation for health insurance in India. I admit, um, but so many countries, have decent health insurance for people, and it's paid for by the government. We pay for it by our taxes, and we don't have that in the United States. So different countries, have different paths, and I think some will continue to be better and worse. I was reading a couple of years ago when I was worried about democracy in trouble in many countries. And then I started to read, they had a list of all these countries where actually democracy had gotten strong. This is about 2 years ago, and I'm sure it's true now. A list of countries where democracy is even getting stronger. And there are countries that ordinarily, I'm sorry to say, might not, think about, but, countries, in Africa or South America, where it's like, oh, wow, things are getting better. So if you look at it from a whole world perspective, things are getting better. In the United States, we're in some trouble with our democracy. But yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. Some countries are going to take different paths, and hopefully lead the way for others.
Absolutely. So, why have you written this novel of yours? Are you an optimistic person generally, or a not so optimistic person? What does this novel reflect? Who is your reader here? Is it also those corporations who you look at, and those people who are aiding them? Are they also your readers, who may also be looking into the future and understanding the insights of such corporations, who might be one of them?
Let's see. Let me ask the first question about answer the first question about whether I'm an optimist or a pessimist. I mean, I'm both. Some days I wake up and I say, you know what? We've dealt with this kind of garbage before, and humanity is getting better, And I really do believe that this is the best time to be a human than it was, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago. Things are getting better for all the reasons I said. The fewer people are hungry. I read, and I read this a couple of years ago, so it may be different now. Something like 60 years ago, I mean, it's terrible, but 800 million people were hungry. And then now 450 million people are hungry. That's obviously way too many. I mean, it's terrible, but it's still an improvement. And, we have to make it better than it is, but it's still an improvement. So sometimes I feel like, yeah, the world's getting better. And sometimes I feel like, oh man, I don't know, we're headed for a cliff, climate crisis and all the great weapons people, great, powerful weapons people have now. So I can go either way on any given day. And this book has both in it. And ultimately, I hope this isn't too much of a spoiler, but the book basically has a happy ending for what's, the story of the book. I go both ways. As to who the audience is, I think I think reading this book gives people another look at the world today and how we're heading and just the different things. I'll give you one example. Uh, in the book, the New York Police Department has been privatized. It's now the New York Police Department Incorporated. And if you want to solve a homicide, if you're a homicide detective, you have to actually raise the money yourself to solve the murders. You have to go to the victim's family, their neighbors, their church, their place of worship. You crowdfund the investigation, and that's how you do it. So every murder, you have to think not only who did it, but how am I going to raise the money to find out who did it? Okay, this might sound a little bit nutty, but the truth is, it's already happening. So, for instance, in the United States, about the statistic I've read is that about 40% of murders the police really give up on. And in some of these cases, private families are raising money themselves to solve the murder. They're putting in $7,500 in order to pay for DNA testing to solve the murder. They're hiring private investigators to do what the police haven't done. It's already happening in the United States that poor people who get murdered or who have a crime done to them, they don't get investigated as much as if a rich person does. Crimes against minorities are not investigated seriously. So, this is already happening. And another thing that's already happening is that in the United States, for every police officer, every public police officer in the United States, there are 2 private police officers, private security guards of one kind and another. In the big cities, the ratio is actually 5-to-1, 5 private security. There are people that you see at the bank. There are people protecting the shopping centers. There are people protecting rich people's neighborhoods. So in a way, the job of the police has already been privatized. Many functions in the United States of government have been privatized. There are a lot of private prisons, and you can bet that the prisoners don't get treated well in private prisons. About 10% now of prisoners are held in private prisons. It's even worse for immigrants who get detained. A lot more of these immigrant detention centers are privately run, and they're terrible. Worse than government facilities, and they're terrible. So yeah, I think the book is a good way to see how things are going. And I should also say the book is it's a fun. I come from writing thrillers and mysteries and writing for TV, so I want it to be fun for people to read. So I have the good guys are chasing and they're trying to find the murder and have tried to figure it out. And when it turns out, oh my God, a big corporate syndicate executive is involved, they're still gonna solve the murder at the risk of their own lives. And meanwhile, they become reluctant heroes. What they do basically helps the resistance, helps the revolution start. So it's this whole thing. You got the bad guys, and they got this one particular AI working for them, and then you get the good guys who are just trying to solve the murder. That's all they want to do, and they're not even thinking about the revolution. But in the meantime, they're helping the revolution. The main character's ex-girlfriend, who's kind of leading the resistance. So they without even wanting to, they help the revolution, the resistance. So these 3 different forces. So my audience for the book: everybody that likes thrillers and everybody that likes speculative fiction. That's the audience.
Absolutely. Normally, people give some timeline of 40, 50 years when a lot of people will not be, alive that time. But 20 years, why have you given only 20 years? Does that show, that it's just the future is knocking at our doors already?
That's definitely how I feel when I wrote the book, which was just before Trump got reelected. I was saying 30 years when I was describing it. But after what's happened in the past year and all the power that Trump has given corporations and the continuing inequality, getting worse inequality. Um, the Supreme Court decisions, everything that has given more power to corporations and less power to individuals and less power to the middle class. It just seems like it's getting closer. They're so eager to privatize Social Security. They want to privatize the post office. They want to privatize parks. They really do want to privatize roads. They're trying to. They're against public schools. It's crazy. I don't know if you follow what's going on in the United States, but they're against public schools. I mean, it's crazy. They say, oh, we can do it privately and we can pay the teachers less. It'll be just as good for the kids. It's not going to be just as good for the kids. And it's especially not going to be good for the kids who aren't rich. So in every way, this has been, accelerate. A trend has been accelerating. I think we can, turn it around. We have to, elect good people. I think we have to change our campaign finance system. I don't know what you have in India exactly, but in the United States, rich people like Elon Musk poured, I believe it was $250 million into making sure Trump and these Republicans won last year, and that's allowed, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be possible for somebody to spend that kind of money. There should be laws against that. We should have public financing of campaigns, and that's the most that's like a central issue in the United States that we have to deal with. By the way, I have to say, I keep saying all these things about India that I don't know, but I have to say one thing I do know. You have great chess players. Oh my God, I love watching Gukesh and these other guys. That's like one of my favorite things. I don't know, one of my favorite pleasures is to watch chess videos. So I've just been really impressed by the renaissance of chess in India. So I just want you to know I appreciate that.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Matt, I want to understand. Means, is it that Matt has, from a TV writer, novelist, playwright, and screenwriter, he has also become an activist? Is it the activist side of you that is coming out in today's time? How also, the Red Queen that you have created, a artificial intelligence. How have you been able to uh, create a character, or if I may use that word, something like this, as well as make sure that people have the right opinion of the right kind of AI, and not understand it as some sort of a demon or something, or maybe it is, but I'm just trying to use some good words for what's the way these things are panning out.
Well, let me answer the first question first, which is it the activist in me coming out? When I was a kid, I did work for political campaigns when I was as young as 11, I started, but, I worked in political campaigns from when I was 11 till I was about 22. And, and so, yeah, I cared about all this. When I started to write, one of my thoughts was I would write novels or plays at that time that had something to say about the world, about politics, about social reality and everything. And I so that's what I was really going for. I was writing these deep and meaningful plays. And as I got older, especially when I wrote for TV, I was like, oh, let's just try to make a living. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but let's just try to make a living. And I was writing, and also I was just writing more personal stories about individuals, and I wasn't always as political in my writing. There was always something about it. Like my thriller, The Necklace, was kind of about the death penalty, and my play, The Deal, was about political corruption. And I wrote a play about a homeless Native American man I met in Brooklyn, a true life story. So there was always something. Um, but I kind of I kind of wasn't doing as much really. And then when I got the idea for this book, I don't know, all the ideas about politics I've had ever since I was, 11 years old, came into this book. And again, I want to emphasize it's a thriller, it's a fun read. And everything I felt about politics, came in and became part of it. So that was something fun to get back to. I guess I felt like I was reconnecting with my teenage self. When I wrote this. What you're saying about AIs, I mean, I think that's a really good thing to talk about, because as much as 51% has this AI character who's quite dangerous for people, um, and as much as AI can be dangerous, I think you're right that AI has just tremendous potential for good. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with all the medical possibilities that it has to,
Right.
and it could be an absolutely great thing, and I think in general it's good if technology helps make the humanity more efficient, because uh, I think it's good because I think then we're able to put our energies elsewhere. I think one reason people live longer is because technology's taken care. I'm not putting this well, but I think that ultimately, it's like I'm worried. Here's what it is. I'm worried people are going to lose their jobs. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs. But I think ultimately they'll get better jobs, or the world will be better, or there will be, I don't know how to put it. I'm being inarticulate. But I think that the more that we improve our capabilities and develop technologically and develop scientifically, um, that things will be better for humanity. And yes, medicine is the most obvious case of it, um, where many diseases, maybe all, but many diseases are going to be helped by AI. And I enjoy, it's also, I don't know, it's a good tool to use. It's a good way to learn things, and it's a good way to think about things. So I think there are tremendous possibilities for it. I don't know where it's going to go, and there's a lot of different feelings about how to make it work. I know there's been a lot of discussion lately in the United States about uh, drones that are going to attack people based on what the AI says, and not based on having people in control. And that's very disturbing. And I don't know. We'll see. I'm talking a lot. I have no idea what's going to happen with AI, and it's very difficult to control. But I do have some optimism for good things. I think a lot of good things could come out of it.
Absolutely, Matt. Absolutely. You are not talking a lot. You are talking like a human who is, who's also trying to find answers. And it's a collective responsibility of everyone. You talk about, again, AI or technology, whichever it is, makes us much more human and more humanly efficient. That is the answer. So I want to understand. We see even in your book, uh, uh, which is about control and everything, you still talk about resistance, you still talk about the existence of the good guys there who are fighting back this battle and want to bring to justice all the wrong sort of people. So it's going to be but in terms of tools, what are the tools that you have given to the good guys here? That is more important, so that people, before they reach to that stage, they protect those tools now, even. That will make them more human, make them much more understand about the world that is folding, opening up for tomorrow, and they are ready before they come to that stage. And so that the world is for everyone, not just for a few so-called corporations.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question about how we can win. By the way, I just want to say one more thing about technology and how it improves. I mean, that's why I'm talking to you right now. It's great to be able to talk to you and connect with someone across the world, which couldn't happen nearly as easily without these tools. Um, I guess our tools are, not to sound corny, but our tools are love. Our tools are caring for each other, caring about each other, learning about each other, and um, and a basic sense of justice. I think humans have have an innate sense of justice. I've even read that animals do. I've read, the different types of apes and other animals, get ticked off if one of them, eats, twice the amount of food, and it's like it's just not right to them. Um, but yeah, we have an innate sense of justice. I think we have the ability to love each other. Obviously, I mean, humanity obviously has a huge competitive urge. And what I notice that people forget sometimes, especially right wingers in the United States, talk as though we don't have an urge to cooperate. And really, we have a strong and impulse, it's an instinct, a strong instinct to cooperate with each other as we do to compete because we need each other. Yeah, that's how we survive in the world is we help each other. And so that's just as strong. So the tool that we have for each other, I think, is love and compassion and understanding and a sense of justice that makes us all want to, be together and have a fair, just and happy world for everybody, for as many of us as possible, for everybody. So I think that's our greatest tool. And I know it sounds corny, but love is a very powerful thing. And if we use it, we can beat corporations or people who are trying to tear us apart.
Absolutely, absolutely, Matt. So after April, after the book is out, will it be another speculative fiction, or will be with the activist Matt in full swing, or will it be back to the old Matt? How do you see that panning out?
Well, uh, let's see. You know, I have to say, the book that I'm writing now is it's about male friendship. It's about you know I think a lot of people are lonely. I think just the way the world has been constructed or something. People talk about an epidemic of loneliness in the United States, and I do see it, among men. That we often don't have a lot of friends, as many friends as women do, and we're a little less open with each other than women are, and we're just not as open as we could be maybe if we were a little bit. Being open with people and friends with people, is just such an important thing to being happy. And it's partly some of the things with technology and the internet and obviously television and social media. But I was with a group of guys that would have coffee or have breakfast every Sunday in Los, and and so it's about friendship. It's about this group of friends, and of course there's a murder because I'm a crime writer. So of course there's a murder. One of them gets killed, and the other four try to figure out who did it, which brings them even closer together. And the friends are also different generations. One of them is 28 years old. One of them is 74, and the other two are in between. And I love that. I cherish my intergenerational friendships, and I really cherish situations in which people of different generations are together. I feel like in the United States, it's too often that the people in their 60s hang out, the people in their 20s hang out, and there's not as much connection between everybody. So, is that political? It's not exactly political, but it's kind of like speaks to something that's kind of like important in the social world. So, in that's it's a big enough topic for me to care about and to address and talk about. In the book, I talk about and show friendships between men and relationships between men. So I think that's kind of socially important.
Of course, of course. And there's so much to learn about all these things, including about your novel, about the friendship that you talk about. And I'm sure a lot of people would want to learn more from you, about your novels, about the upcoming novels, and the other ideas that you may be working on. What's the best way for them to do so?
They can go to my website, which is mattwittenwriter.com. And if they'd like to buy 51%, I'm not sure exactly when this episode will air. Oh, I guess it's live. Right now, they can get it for their Kindle on Amazon just by going to Amazon and looking for 51% by Matt Witten. And in about a couple weeks, I think it'll be the print version will also be available on Amazon. So that's those are the two things. You can buy the book, and you can go on my website, and I do have my life story is on my website as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, AJ. It was a pleasure.